It's a stark contrast between fantasy and the harsh realities of war. But this month, Crackle brings audiences a new series directed, written, and shot on location in Ukraine. We want to welcome the creator of the 12-episode series Cossacks, Oksana Ivanuok. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Well, first of all, our hearts and prayers go out to you and all the people of Ukraine. But before we really kind of get into just exactly how you're able to create a 12-part series in the midst of war, if you can just tell us a little bit more about the series itself and the inspiration behind the story.
We filmed it before the full-scale invasion, after the beginning of war, but before February 22. And it took us about 6 months to film it. And once the war began, we were in pre-production of the second season of the series. But the process was interrupted, obviously. And a lot of actors joined the army. Some of them serve now. One person who was our pyrotechnic, he was killed in May 22.
Oh my goodness. So to go from celebrating a series that has been airing all over the world, that people have fallen in love with, and then to be brought into a war situation, for you as a creator, and not being able to start filming the second season of this series, what have you been doing just with your time and survival and trying to stay creative during this process?
I stayed in Kiev. I didn't leave because,
really?
you know, I decided that I must be here because if Kiev is invaded and occupied by Russians, then there should be people here like me who will welcome them with Molotov cocktails and tell that they are not welcomed at all.
Sure.
But you know, we stopped everything. We had 12 projects in development at that time. 2 of them were in production, but you know, everything freezed. And we realized that the only thing we can do, we can write. So we started to work on a script called Generation Z about a group of young people from Mariupol who spent their 10 days trapped in a nightclub.
So this is the project that you're working on now, but going back to Cossacks, so tell us about the premise for this series. What is the story about? And does it reflect what's happening in Ukraine today in any way?
Oh yes, very much so. As you know, we started to work on it after the beginning of war. We wanted to convey the main message that the legend about invincibility, about in war with Russia, that the Russian Tsar is invincible, is fake. And our Cossacks, they ruin this legend.
And Cossacks, if you can describe for our audience, if they're not familiar with the term, who are Cossacks typically?
Cossacks are warriors who lived in Ukraine in 16th, 17th century. And at that time, Ukraine, it was called Zaporizhia at that time, this part of the world. It was an independent country, and we had a democratic republic here. The head of the army was the head of the country, and it was he was elected. And at that time, we didn't have slavery here, you know, nothing like that. It was time of musketeers. And Ukraine was literate. All kids, in spite of their social status, they had to go to Sunday church school to learn how to read and write. So it was quite a prosperous country with a very powerful army.
Very interesting.
And by those warriors.
Yes, yes. And the story itself, it is fantasy-based, but there's also a bit of comedy in it as well, is there not?
It is, yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so it's comedy, it's fantasy, and it certainly transports you to another world completely. A 12-part series. This is airing on Crackle starting September 1st today. So for people who want to learn more about your work and the future projects, for anybody who's interested in your work particularly, where should they be able to find you?
They can find this particular series in Eastern Europe. It's on Netflix, and we also work a lot for Ukrainian television. We are now in production of 3 series for Ukrainian television, and we are developing a project we won a highly competitive grant from Netflix Eastern Europe, developing 10 episodes series called Diggers of the Sun, about people who dig amber. And it's mystical detective story. And we also work on a number of documentary projects. I'm fresh from the front line where we were filming kids. We traveled along the front line and we filmed those kids who survived occupation. And they're still there, and they're very brave and full of energy, and they're not frightened, by Russians, but they have this, the main emotions. They are ready to win.
Wow, my goodness. Well, we have much to look forward to, and certainly going from fantasy and comedy to something so serious, your talents and your experiences are going to be able to tell some different stories in the future. We'll be looking forward to that. And please, Oksana, continue to stay safe. We send you our prayers, our hearts go out to you, and we look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Thanks you very much.
Thanks
a lot.
We're back after this.